So you're the lead, so you're the expert on Seneca in your school. That's great. Anybody else?
I'm the second in my school. We usually use it for homework based, but we're using it in classrooms now, predominantly for Key Stage 3. So for year 7s, 8s, and 9s, we're now pushing it for parents to get involved. So we're putting that on our online platforms as well, and getting the year 10s and 11s also linked up to it.
Okay, good. So you're also already using it. That's fine.
Yeah.
And Mike? I don't know if you're there. Maybe not. Okay, I'm asking because yesterday everybody who came, they were in a school where other people were using a lot, but they themselves were not using. They did not even know what it was. So it's good that I asked you, so I don't have to go through like the first steps like I did with them. So that's fine. So what I'm gonna show you, it's a little bit more about the premium features that you have access. So like some new stuff that we came up with, some things that are happening on the student side as well. So there are some new features for students who are premium, so your students. So I'm gonna show you that, and then also show you a bit of the cognitive science behind Seneca. So some of the principles that we use to create Seneca and to create our methodology. Mike joined again. Maybe this time it will work. Maybe it's a different mic.
Hello, sorry.
Hi.
Sorry. I couldn't. It was blocking the microphone, so I was just trying to find the settings on my phone. Then sorry.
No, that's no problem at all. So tell me, are you already using Seneca with your students, or are you new to Seneca?
Yes, we as a school we were using it sort of through remote learning mostly, but I don't think we've used it too much since we've been back in the classrooms at the moment.
Okay, cool, great. So you're all on the same page. That's good. So let me share my screen and show you a few good things. What is this? Why am I seeing myself? Close. There you go. All right. Okay, so so this, just so you know, we also have Seneca in other countries. I don't know if you know that, but we started that last year. And I am the chief scientist of Seneca as a whole, but I am also the head of Brazil. So there will be some courses in Portuguese mixed with my UK courses, but that doesn't matter, right? The whole thing is the same, just that the courses themselves, some of them will be the Brazilian version of our courses. Okay, so let me show you on the student side first, the new features that we're working on, and also how we used cognitive science in the methodology. So let's do one of the courses. So if I just go on, let's choose any of them here. I think you're, let's see, GCSE. Let's do this one. Okay, so how do we use cognitive science in our platform? So there are 4 main principles that we follow on cognitive science. One of them is retrieval practice, the other one is dual coding, the other one is spacing, and the other one is interleaving. Okay, so retrieval practice is the idea that if you retrieve information, if you bring something back to mind, you create stronger connections between pieces of information. So that makes your memory stronger in general. So it's easier for you to understand and to remember that information in the future. So it will be the opposite of just sitting and reading a textbook or highlighting or just watching a video. These are all passive techniques where you just absorb things from the outside world into your head without too much thinking about it. So with active methodologies, with retrieval practice, you have to do the thinking. So you have to retrieve, and every time that you do, you reconsolidate the information in your head, you create connections, and it gets stronger and stronger in your long-term memory. So that's I'd say the main principle of cognitive science that we use, because it's also the one with the most robust science behind it. There are countless, endless papers about it. I can send you a lot of papers, interesting papers about that if you want. So I can send you some PDFs and some different articles that have been written with different studies in schools, in universities, showing how retrieval practice works and how much difference it can make to learning. So on the platform itself, so let's just go for any of them here. The way we work, and you may already have noticed that, but you maybe didn't know why, is that we start with those slides, which are very like bite-sized, short, concise reviews of what students have seen with you, or introductions. So some teachers use Seneca's flipped classroom. So they share the assignment before they teach that lesson. So this will be like introduction to that topic. And then after that, you have questions. So we purposely do not have a video, like a 20-minute video explaining the content. We purposely do not have a really long text because we want students only to quickly review the information, but then spend most of their time retrieving. So answering questions and solving problems. And we have different types of questions. So in this one, you're gonna answer step by step of the, almost like an essay or a paragraph here. So you type, there's immediate feedback. So immediately I know whether I got it right, whether I got it wrong. That's also based on how the brain works. You learn better if you have this immediate feedback rather than having to wait for the teacher to find time in their busy schedules to mark that. So this is one type of question. This one you have to fix. So there's something wrong with that sentence. You click, or actually no, this was just a flashcard, sorry. But flashcards are also a way to use retrieval practice. So you read the question and then you think about the answer before you flip the card. So flashcards, study groups, past papers, there are a lot of different techniques that you can use for retrieval practice, and all of them are embedded on this platform. Then you see a little bit more of content, and then you go and you see more questions. So there are always more questions than content itself, because that's how students learn better. And then the cool thing, and then you may or probably already know that, is that the Seneca platform is all adaptive. So the questions that we have on our database of questions are much more than what you'll see here, because what happens is that as students answer one question at a time, the platform learns with them what they know and what they don't know yet, and then selects new questions for them depending on how they are progressing on that topic. And one thing that happens here, and that most people don't notice, but it's a cool feature, I think, is this progress bar here. So if I answer a question wrong, I only move my progress bar a little bit. If I answer my question right, I move my progress bar a lot more. This is what we call the proficiency level of that session. So basically the platform, our algorithm, has to conclude that that student has reached enough proficiency on that section before moving on to the next one. So if they get something wrong, they will need to answer more and more questions before arriving at the minimum proficiency. If they get something right, then they get more points. So this is something that is good on the neuroscience level, but it's also good to prevent kids from just guessing, because they could just guess, as I'm doing here basically, but the more questions they get wrong, the longer the assignment is going to be. So it's actually worth it for them to think about the answers before answering the questions. Okay. Also, if you have any comments or any questions at any time, let me know. If you want me to talk about specific features or any questions that you already have about any features, let me know. Okay, so there's only a few of us here, so we can make this very informal. I just want to get to the end. I can actually already show you something else. So that's the first one. So that's retrieval practice. And the way I think about retrieval practice is like a maze. So if you think about a maze, there is an entrance, which will be the question to something. And then the exit will be the correct answer to that. If your students are always just reading the same textbook and highlighting and writing notes, basically copying from the text, it's always the same information, the same way. That means that there's only one path that leads them from the entrance to the exit. But if they answer new questions all the time, if they really retrieve information, they create connections between what they are learning now and what they have learned before, then there are multiple paths that lead them from the entrance to the exit. So that makes their information, their memory, and their knowledge is stronger than before. Okay. And then in the end, when you finish an assignment, you immediately get your scores, and you even have your memory strength here, which is a good thing because for your students, for the premium students, they have access to our smart learning mode, which is entirely based on spacing and interleaving, which I'll tell you in a minute. And that makes recommendations for your students on what to study and when, based on what they did before. So that they not only improve their immediate score, but they also improve their memory strength, their actual long-term proficiency. So that's something that only premium students have access to, which means your students have access to. Cool. This is new, so I wanted to get to the end to show you this. I think this was in like today. I don't think this was there yesterday yet. This is very new. Basically, it's also something that only premium students have access to, which is the wrong answers mode and the notes only mode. So you may have seen the wrong answers mode, not in this style, or you may have seen it. The notes only, something even more recent. So basically, after I finish something, I always have the opportunity to get back and redo it to get 100%. So in this case, I have 12 questions wrong the first time I did them. So I can go for get 100, and then it will take me to the wrong answers only. So instead of revisiting every little thing from the topic before, I just have to answer those 12 questions that I got wrong. And then I'm gonna stay on this assignment for a longer time until I actually do finish the 12 sections. I actually don't know any of that because I wasn't paying attention to when I was studying, but basically, so I got the first one right. I still have 11 more to go. And it's not gonna finish until I finish them. So this is something that your premium students have access to, which is something that they requested a lot in the beginning when we started. They're like, I wanna get back to only my wrong answers so that I can focus on them. So that's available now. Yes, Mike?
Hi, I'm just wondering, because I'm maths teacher, if they're going back to the wrong answers, would it be the exact same questions or would it be a similar question? Otherwise, they might just be able to remember the answers.
Yeah, so even for maths, it would be the same one. So if they are doing let me find the maths one. So if they are redoing on the adaptive mode, then the questions will be different because it will be adaptive. So the platform will remember what they got wrong and right the first time, and it will send them different questions the second time based on what they learned the first time or did not learn.
Yeah.
But on the wrong answers only, then there will be the exact same questions. So they basically just really redoing what they got wrong.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No problem. So in this case, I don't have any, but if I do one of them, then it will be the same questions exactly. Yeah. Yeah, cool. So the other thing that we use a lot here is spacing and interleaving. So spacing and interleaving are two cognitive science principles that go together, and they are basically the opposite of cramming, if you want to be very simple. So the idea, and you can think about it if you are practicing for a marathon, for example. So there's a marathon next June, and I'm starting to prepare now. I have 12 months to prepare. I am not going to do 4 months only training my tights, and then the next 4 months only training my arms, and then the next 4 months only training my abs, or whatever. I'm going to do a little bit of everything all the time. So I'm going to space my training section. So do arms here, arms again, arms again, arms again, and interleave that with legs and cardio and whatever else. I'm not really a gym person, don't know why you train, but whatever. So that's the same thing with studying. If you study everything maths, and then you think, I'm good with maths, I don't need to study maths anymore, I'm done, you're going to forget that. So that's something that we call the forgetting curve. It's been around since the 18 something. It's really, really old. It's not news. We already know that for a long time, but there has been several new studies showing the same thing again. Basically, if you learn something, you forget that something. That's just how the brain works. Unless you revisit that information to learn it again. And then you forget it a bit less. And then you revisit and you forget it a bit less. It's the same thing with your muscles. If you train, even if you spend like 48 hours straight training a muscle, if you never practice that again, you're just going to get back to the way you were before. So that's the same thing with the brain. You have to always revisit past information to make sure you don't forget. So even if you have 100%, you get everything right today, if you don't revisit, you're going to forget that. So that's very important for long-term learning. So students may be able to get by if they have like an exam 2 days from now, they can cram and they may actually go okay on the exam, but in terms of actually learning that subject, they won't probably, because it's just gonna really keep very fresh and then they're gonna forget unless they go back and revisit. So in the Seneca platform, we have 2 ways that we deal with spacing and interleaving to embed that into the methodology. So within each activity, during each assignment, we usually have 2 sets of content. So we have the first set of slides, then some questions, and then a second set of slides. And then the following questions can be about that or about that. So we do this interleaving within the section. So your students don't always say that they don't always know that this will be followed by questions about that, and this will be followed by questions about that. And that's particularly important for maths because it's like if you think about you're teaching them about how to calculate the area of some shapes. So let's learn how to calculate the areas of squares and then triangles. If you say this is the square area and you give them 30 problems to solve, they pretty much already know how to solve them because they know that that belongs to the same chapter. And then the next one, I need to use that formula because I already know that is the triangle exercise. So you're basically giving them half the answer already. So that's why interleaving is really important to really help your students think about the problem in a more like depth way. So they have to read the problem, really understand what the problem is about, and think about how they can solve it before already going halfway there just because it's in the same chapter. So like obviously that's the formula that I have to use because it's in the same chapter, not because I really understand what the formula is about. Okay. So that's something that we do within each section. And also, and that is a premium feature, the smart learning mode. So this is premium, only your students have access to that, which is a suggestion. So I haven't done much of maps, but if I go to another one, probably a Brazilian one, just as an example, because it's the one that I've been using more. So if I go on the smart learning mode, basically it gives me recommendations. Okay, so this is everything that we have available within the subject. This is the assignments that my teacher told me to do. These both are free. This is premium feature, and that's the wrong answer. So I can go back and redo one of the assignments, but only focusing on the wrong answers. And the smart learning mode is also a premium feature. So it basically suggests and makes recommendations about what I should be studying now based on how well I answered that topic the first time and when I completed that topic for the last time. So we really try to match the forgetting curve, which would be 1 day and then 3 days and then a week. So the more you do it, the longer the intervals can be. So we try to match that from different papers that we've read. And that's how the smart learning mode works. So it suggests and makes recommendations. It creates this personalized study plan for your students in order for them to revisit the right content at the right time so that they have the best learning about that. Any questions, any comments? All clear? Good. And then, so that's spacing and interleaving. And then the other one that we also have is, let me find another one, is dual coding. So in terms of dual coding, what we have is images and diagrams. Maths is a bit less heavy on dual coding. I shouldn't have gone for maths because we do have a lot of those like actual calculations on the screen. But for most of the other subjects, we use visual images to complement the text and vice versa, and that's dual coding. So in our working memory, we have two different subsystems, one for verbal information, the other one for visual information. And if you can get those two to work together, then it makes the processing of the whole information easier than if you have to do two things separated, or only one or only the other one. So if you can connect the text that you're reading to a diagram or a timeline or infographic or something like that, or just a picture really that helps you understand what you're talking about as an example, that makes it easier for your students to understand what you're talking about and also to remember that in the future. So that's what we do. We have plenty of images. Again, math's not the best example, but we do have the slides are all with images. Let me choose something else. All the slides have images, so they can be a diagram, they can be something that just goes together with the text. And then during the actual content, there will be some mind maps and some connections, images. We use GIFs a lot. So GIFs not only are part of dual coding, but they're also part of the positivity effect. So that's something that actually I studied on my PhD, which is how positive, well, how emotional things can make your memory better. So if you are in a curious mood, if you are in a positive mood, if you are just enjoying whatever that information is, then you learn that better. So there are some studies about that. So that's another reason why we have so many GIFs, is the idea that you just they like it, right? They have fun, they enjoy it, they're more motivated, they're gonna learn that better. Okay, so these are the main principles that we use in terms of how the methodology happens here for students. And then if you go to the teacher platform, so I'll just create a new class here. Let's call it year 7. So the teacher platform, there are a few things here that you can also do in terms of premium features that you may not have, actually you wouldn't have if you were in a free school. Okay, so basically the first one that you have here is progress. That's also very new. That's from 2 weeks ago probably, and that's only for premium schools as well. So if you go on progress here, you have the option to generate a report. So it's really new, still a beta version. You can generate a report. So usually, as you probably know, so if you go on your class, you can see the assignment, so you can see the scores one by one, so assignment by assignment, right? Or you can see the insights, which you can use to select the topic, type of metrics, data range, and then the topics to be able to see everything that students have done within the criteria. With progress, you see an even broader view of that. So you basically select the class that you want to see, select the time period. Currently, you have 7 days, 30 days, and last year, and you can generate that report. I didn't choose a very, oh, there you go. So this one I submitted yesterday on the other presentation. So if I download that, let me show you what it looks like. Hopefully you can still see my Excel, even if it opens in a different window. Haven't tested it. So basically you have like this more overall score report. So you have the names, the last names, the year groups, depending. So now your students have to say the year groups. Total study time, questions answered correctly, number of sessions completed, and average score. And you have the 4 students per classes, so you can select more classes, and per subject. So it's a much easier way for you to keep track of everything. So on the assignments and on the insights tab, you have to do one by one. Here, if you have a class with multiple subjects, then you're gonna see all of them, and you're gonna see the information per subject, per class and also per student. So it's a really good thing if you want to just have a broader overview of your whole class without having to go next, next, next. So that is a premium feature. That's something that you can use already, and it's very new. It's still beta. So if you have any suggestions or any feedback, let us know, because that will be good. So basically, yeah, but I did wrong. I only selected one. But if I select two, then you send me two. You can see everything instead of having to go one by one. So that's the big advantage of that, which is new and it's also a premium feature. And then the last one that I wanted to talk to you about, it is not a premium feature, but it's a very cool feature that a lot of teachers don't know exists. So I just want to show you because it's a very good one, and it's one that is based on cognitive science. So let's say that I went to a past assignment. So this one that I have already done, it finished on the 28th of April. The option that I have here and that many teachers don't see is the Smart Reassign. So with that feature, you can select one criterion to reassign the topic or the assignment to your students based on that criteria. So you are not just asking everybody to redo everything. You're asking specific students to review specific topics based on a specific design here that you select. That is a feature that we created with the grant from Nesta, which is a government organization. Not really government, used to be government, not anymore. It's an organization that really promotes education technology, so EdTech. And we created this because it's all about differentiation and adaptation. So you could probably do that manually, like keeping your track of all the answers and all the correct answers and all the grades, and then deciding who has to do what. But this does it for you. So it's a really good feature, I think, because then each of your students will receive a differentiated, personalized, adaptive assignments based on how they answered before. So it's also very good to do spacing and interleaving because you are helping them to revisit past information so they don't forget. But that revisiting is specific to each students. Okay, so that's a really nice feature as well that I just wanted to share with you. Does anybody have any questions or any comments? There was just one more that I forgot to share, which is the notes only. So here for premium students only, not for free students, only for premium students, you have always 3 ways that you can retry your assignment. So try to redo that and get a better grade. You can do the adaptive, which is the traditional one, and the free one. So basically you're gonna redo the whole lesson, but the platform will select the questions for you based on what you did before. This is the wrong answer, so you only redo, in this case here, the 4 questions that I got wrong the first time. And then this is the newest one. It is notes only. So basically here they get to see the slides, but no questions. So they are just different ways for students. So we just give them more options, right? So if you're a free student, that's all you can do. If you have, your school has a premium access, then you can also do that, which is the cognitive scientific way to revise. But you can also just focus on the things that you got wrong to really try to improve your grades. And students, they just like notes, right? They like having that nice notebook with all the information. So you can also just click here and you're gonna see only the slides. In this case, there were only 2 slides, so it wasn't a very good session. But you're gonna see just the slides of that session. And then after that, you can go for the next one, or you can then choose to do the questions for that session only. This one has more than 1 slide. So basically you just get the notes and then they can just copy to the notebook. They can use it to do some research. or they can then decide to study only the wrong ones or everything again. That was basically it, what I wanted to show you. Do you have any questions or any comments or anything that you want me to go more in depth about? Any of the cognitive science principles that you want me to explain more or less?
No, but I really like the fact that you can go back to your wrong answers, just because we can then it helps address the misconceptions. Because I found, just particularly with lockdown and working from home, a lot of students are just kind of losing track on what they want to do and losing that motivation, and it's very hard to address those misconceptions. With this, it'll be easy to do that, and I'm just really a fan of that, so I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, that's good. No, I agree. Yeah. Also, just in terms of misconceptions, actually, we do have some courses only for misconceptions. Don't know if you've seen that. So
No, I haven't actually.
okay, let me show that to you, because you mentioned. But yeah, you're completely right about wrong answers. But also, if you go on, the normal course page and go on type misconceptions, then we have a lot of them. That's just about misconceptions. So we ask teachers, what are the main things that kids get wrong, that kids have misconceptions about? And then we created courses only to help them get over those misconceptions and learn the right thing. So these are all available here for you. So like the main misconceptions about physics and the AKA A level. So it's like a much shorter course compared to the normal, like physics AQA will be a million topics, because we really are just focusing on the ones that they have usually a harder time understanding the correct information, and they usually understand something that's not the right one. So it's a good thing to also use those when you are setting assignments as well, for them to really focus on those.
Yeah, I love that. That's brilliant.
And obviously, there are also all the premium types of courses here that your students can use and that you can use with your students as well, because all of you have premium. So
I was just going to ask about when you said the more questions students get wrong, Seneca asks them more questions. Is that standard, or is that a specific type of course?
that's for everything.
That's for everything, okay. Cool.
Yeah. It's just because the way we measure proficiency is with points. So every time that you answer something, you get a number of points. If you get something right, you get more points. If you get something wrong, you still get points, because you're learning something by trying.
Yeah.
but not as much as if you already have learned. So it also depends on, so like if you have a multiple choice question with 2 choices only, and you get it right, you get less points than if you get something right on a 5 choice question.
Okay, great. Yeah, we've got quite a few students in the older years who like to just guess and just get through it as quickly as possible. Actually, they're just making it longer for themselves.
Yeah.
I would tell them that. I'm sure that'll go down very well.
Yeah, exactly. So they can easily see there with that bar. So if they like on purpose get something wrong, they will notice that the bar moves a lot less than if they get something wrong. So it's actually good for them to think a little bit more. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
No problem. And here I was just showing, but I'm pretty sure you already knew that they're all the different types of courses. So just as a recap, if you forgot, because there are so many now, basically standard are the normal courses, the first ones that we created. And then the misconceptions are also free, and the standardized assessments. But then we have predicted papers, which are just premium. So these are based on past papers. We have examiners and people who are really familiar with the A-levels and GCSE exams to predict what will be happening, maybe not this year, but next year. And then we create the predicted paper courses, which are all done in the exact style as the actual exam that your students are going to sit. Then we have hardest questions, which are for students that are aiming at 7 to 9. So they're already doing okay, but they want to do even better. So they can practice only with the hardest questions. Then we have hyperlearning and hyper flashcards, which one student said that it's like Seneca on energy drinks. So that's basically a very fast-paced, fun way to revise content. You get a lot of GIFs, a very high ratio of GIFs to content, just really, really fast and really fun to do. This is just flashcards, basically. So it's a whole course just with flashcards, which is good if they even don't want to be clicking, but they want to have the main information in a way that they can think before flipping. Premium knowledge is also a different type. So it's also for students who are aiming 7 to 9. This is for students who are aiming at a pass. So the really ones who are struggling and they just need the booster. And then we even have like driving theory, which is fun. Applying to uni is a help for them to do their personal essays and just prepare for applying to uni. And the night before would be the cramming. So we really advocate for doing, interleaving, spacing, and all of that. But we also know that, 2 days before the exams, they want to do like this very quick revision just to feel safe enough for the exam. So you have like 196 options of the night before courses, which are all premium here. Cool. So if nobody has any more questions or comments, I think we can finish here. But if you have any questions about any of the premium features later, feel free to message me or Ruben or Richard. I don't know which one you've been in touch with, one of us, and we'll be happy to help.
Great, thank you very much.
That was great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, many thanks for your time. Thank you.
No, thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.